Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. Today it's a banger. You're going to go through all things magic. There is no such thing as real magic because all things are magic. That is the fabric of our reality. I don't operate in the idea that it's an illusion because it is not. It is evident in my reality and my own realized experience. You'll be taught the inner workings of the origins of that magic. And of course, furthermore, you will be given a ritual, you'll be given a transmission through this podcast that will set you on a path that will be self-evident and realized by you, the seeker, moments after your transmission, moments after the detailed ingredients that you will be told how to set up your magical register that entails what we call the ritual, your magical altar. And we will guide you through the steps necessary to activate that from this very podcast. Enjoy the video. Feel this knowing. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever take you down. Expand that. All the effects of those words through the body, expressing itself through the chills, the expansion. This is your very knowing right here, right now. Entered through the breath, presented through the feeling, knowing is your very evidence. Feeling is your expression of that knowing. Welcome to the consciousness of the way. My divine delectable co-host, High Priestess Jade.
Ooh, it was like my own personal concert.
Oh, yeah. The amplitude of that, other than bringing you back to one of the highlights of 80s pop culture, just Daniel-san. And I am your humble servant and Sifu Taoist Master San Qing. This is just evident. Evident is the vehicle of your relationship from the mind to reality. How do you find that? How does that transmute into the tangible, into the material? Brings us to magic as we speak on it. That is a very intricate part of the Taoist seeker's tuning fork, toolbox. The ritual, the ancient ritual steeped in thousands of years of cultivational practices to reunite you with yourself right now. The dismissal of ritual, the dismissal of lineage, the dismissal of history, the dismissal of that innate power that resides within this physical tuning fork is the very evidence that you are right where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
If you find someone deterring you through religion, through philosophy, which is basically two gateways into your knowing, or removing you and creating an absence and a very doubtful outcome that keeps you perpetually cycling through what we call the separation of psyche. So today, we are going to reunite you with the power of you. And this brings us to the power of the magic within Taoism, the real magic that goes beyond the flickering of hope that you find from what would be benign association with this thing that people dismiss as, oh, it's just magic. It's just David Blaineism. It's just a trick. The trickery really is of your mind and someone commandeering your attention to believe that you are not already here. Jufu, what are you saying? Oh, I'm not saying. I'm knowing that the very evidence of what I speak of started over 5 minutes ago. And the fact that you can feel the visceral kinesthetics, the somatic response from those words, and just be saying it, the chill that you're receiving up your spine right now is the very evidence that you need. How do you know this? How is it that I'm here in my little old lonesome self watching my YouTubers? YouTubism.
Rebranding.
Well, YouTubism. It's like, it's right up there with another religion. YouTubism, Taoism, Catholicism. This is your sacred sanctuary. Come with us on the magical mystery ride that deciphers the labyrinth of the human psyche. Do not be dissuaded by someone telling you what's all in your head. That's the double negative, because it is all in your head. But now you must be able to validate it through a self-realized knowing that can be transmuted into what you would perceive as the material from a psychologist's perspective. Psychological is the very roots of you identifying how removed or connected you are with your path. The purpose of psychology was very clear: to separate you. Because the simplicity of knowing that if you think it, it becomes realized is a very daunting and scary place to be if you have, in this present moment, 8 billion people on planet Earth that have this ability. Oh, no. And furthermore, through the history of the Chinese culture, someone of my knowing would very well be only two things within the hierarchy of an emperor's reign, the counsel, the guidance, the spiritual advisor, the advisor to the emperor, tapping into this polarizing material through the mastery of Taoism. And of course, the first person to be executed, because we can't have that power out of the hands of the authorities, which then leads you to this long history of mass genocide within all these cultures. And China was a massive abuser of that, with dictators that show the world that they are completely removed from the true vein of the purpose of humanity, which is empathy, baby. That innate, unconditional servitude, selflessness that we all possess, that will present itself in your everyday life through your interaction with other humans, sentient beings that possess this ability. And now we fast forward to 2024, the resurgence of the power of Taoist alchemy, as Jade and I are participants in reuniting you, remembering who and what and where this very separation started, to reunite you to a knowing that there is no such thing. It's a lie.
Well, I think modern day people don't realize the power of magic, and they think of, but even in ancient time, I mean, like King Arthur, medieval time, I mean, he had Merlin, he had his clairvoyance, he had all of his, advisors and behind the door counsel that was all very much steeped in mysticism and magic and all of that type of stuff. And I think when you look back through any type of time or history, you can find that whoever was, some great leader had a psychic or a all-seeing oracle, as I would call it, all-knower in these, ancient stories that have been passed down in cultures, and it's always present.
Yeah. I mean, this is where the phenomenon of consciousness comes in, and where everyone's just waking up. We've talked about it through the representation of a macro to a micro. The evidence from a Taoist seeker's perspective is this expression of your identity, this anchor of human flesh within this reality, is that knowing. So you use that. You have a misalignment, which is the very, a repetitive, mundane existence of all human beings until otherwise noted. They just plot through their life, measuring everything through time and space. Every second of every minute is measured to account for their attention intention. Let's be very clear, ladies and gentlemen and ladies. You are being, as my dear friend James Tunney would say, a spiritual war, baby. And it's a spiritual war for your attention intention. So first you identify you're misaligned. You have a magical, mystical experience, that charge we're getting right now that gives you that realization. And if I move my shoulders and I can amplify that energy that is oscillating and reverberating within the center core of your physical body gives you the very knowing that, holy shit, Jifu, you're not full of shit. This is really happening. Yes, it's your self-realized validation. No one else's. There is no separation between you and me. You are me. You are me. I am you. And this is the very default where magic becomes extremely powerful to harness this fabric of perfection that we call the mother, which is in the center point, the Vesica, which is the Wu Ji, and you enter that as you identify everything as the bellows. As you identify everything as the bellows, that center point between the breath in and the breath out, yin and yang. And through that mastery, the polarizing dissolves, and you're one with all things. Then that tapestry, that separation of your mind to body experience. Be very clear. Listen to the linguistics. This is the commandeering of your attention. You find it in all things. Our mystical, magical experience of ritual within Taoism dates back to the beginning and the origins of Taoism in of itself. How was that refined from the darkness, from the void to the light, from conception within the primordial mother's womb to creation of life itself, of recycle of 9 that transmutes into a timeline that results in what is the mirroring effect? The now. So all things are mirrored. This is the very, when you are absent, all you have to do, you are in lack of, which is you're searching, you're seeking to find that knowing. We identify that the material is all energetic potential. This is very clear. It's shown to you, whether it's through a passing moment listening to a physicist, a scientist, an energy healer, someone that's taken your attention to the possibilities of contemplation to hope, to belief system, to knowing, would come in this form, this well-packaged form today in the spiritual journey known as manifestation.
I was going to say, what would you define is modern magic? Because we talk about like the ritual, and we talk about, the ancient practice and magic and being able to tap into that, and, the lineage of Taoists and Taoism and ancient Taoist magic. What would you define as modern magic?
Well, where do we start? There are no coincidences. But first and foremost, as a seeker, you must be able to validate what is psychology to psychosis to absence of those vehicles to a realization of the present moment. These are all evident within the construct of your reality that starts with the idea that you have to learn. It's very clear from the Jade Emperor, and I remind you very clearly, if you have to learn it, you do not know it. If you know it, you do not have to learn it. Let me repeat that one more time. If you have to learn it, you do not know it. If you know it, you do not have to learn it. Mic drop. Okay, Jifu, I need to take a toke or something, drop some psychotic material, eat a mushroom, and get back on the mystery ride the Beatles have been talking about for decades. Or not. Let's be very clear. You experienced evidence just through this conversation that started with my first breath that was able to validate for you that you were on the center point. Because we always remind you, if you are thinking, you're not knowing; if you're knowing, you're feeling. Now, you can go to any talking head that spreads the word of this new religion called physics. And we can talk about what they call the center point or the 0 point, the unified field, the singular. This is all wrapped up in the terminology of, physics 101. And then you start to get a little bit more creative, identifying that there has been certain physics, i.e. scientific religions, that have formed all the way back into the 1700s with Newtonian physics, and then bringing us up to the 21st century with an embracing of the spooky, this, self-realized evidence that, Albert Einstein identified as the quantum phenomenon. Mm-hmm. That there is really no separation, that there's bilocating, non-centrist, non-dualist realization that this present moment is all you have, and you're able to find this using the tuning fork. Mm. And so first you must you find the thread. You're looking for that fabric of perfection, which is a resonance, which is a frequency that is beyond this electromagnetic spectrum. Mm-hmm. And it will present itself. And how does it start, Jeffrey? Well, to the question of Jade right now, it starts with you realizing your misalignment is the very distraction. Because once you realign, holy moly, all bets are off. You start to realize through an epiphany, I heard a voice, I had a feeling, I could see grandma, a premonition, an out-of-body experience, a near-death experience. These are all identifications that there is something greater than what's in front of you, and it comes from what? Commandeering your attention, intention, and it's being able to validate through this currency we call energetic potential. Because with it is the three secret ingredients we've always talked about: a thought, feeling, and emotion. This is the very substance and the only formation that is verifiable to start your journey. Mm-hmm. And so you start with a thought, feeling, and emotion, which anyone and everyone can identify with in their reality. And then you realize that your attention intention, when formed from a physicist perspective, transmutes light to wave to matter to particle, forming from your attention intention energetic potential, which is what you perceive as material, the tangible.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, okay, this fantasy of things like telekinesis, clairvoyance, more parapsychology 101, precognition, psychometry, psychokinesis. These are all terms that sort of get integrated. Ideomotor, ideograms. These are all different types of terms that help you find your truth.
Yeah.
And then you go back to beyond all this nonsense to something as simplistic as what we share with you, which is this present moment and the bellows that you are contracting and expanding at all times. You are all things and nothing at the same time. Your Death Star moment, your realization of the Wu Ji, will be identified through this vehicle, this tuning fork, this 50 trillion cells that you possess right now as your decipherer. So I want you to be very clear right now, all bullshit aside. I'm going to transmit to you the very symbolism which would come in a form from a psychological perspective, from a parapsychologist perspective, from a psychic's perspective, what we call ideograms. And I'm going to transmit it to you through my resonance. As you know, everyone listening to this is like, I'm feeling this buildup. I have no idea what this is, but this is what we call precognition. You are experiencing it through your tuning fork before I've even identified what it is. But you already know. You already have that feeling. And every time I point at you and you get a chill, holy moly, this is freaky. So I'm going to just count you down to the inevitable. And from this moment, you're going to have a freaking epiphany that will be self-realized in 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ooh. Yeah, baby. Now, from this very moment, symbology, sigils, these are all words that lead you to the magical, mystical path, because they want you to separate from the simplicity of the now moment. Yet you can identify with that. That transmission you just had, that was visceral, somatic, kinesthetic, physical, is the now moment. And from this moment, you will see evidence of the Tao in every aspect of your life. You will be able to see the decoder that we speak of, which is this universal knowing of the polarizing effects of electromagnetic potential of now. They'll be undeniable. You can come back to this video and go, holy crap, I've seen yin and yang 1,000,000 times since I had this experience, this transmission. That was, and I mean, look, I will even describe it for you as you're feeling the heat that's just sort of like expanding from your center core. That's the now, baby. And that is a reflection of the primordial mother. You will always exhibit these expansive tools from the yin to the yang, from the yang to the yin, always returning. The chill, the knowing, the heat, the expansion. These are self-evident. They're undeniable. You don't have to be commandeered. You don't have to think about anything. You have the feeling that is the knowing. Mm-hmm. And so this is the starting seed, the thread, as Jade asked about, for the magic. Because without it, you would consider yourself just a transitory thought that cannot be quantified, cannot be identified, cannot be measured. And it comes and goes. And so through the practices that we teach people, you're able to have this palpable realization of this down moment. And the resonance will identify itself. And so within magic, we have got so many thousands of rituals. One that is most identifiable within Taoism is our star-stepping magic. You lay down grids. Grids we've talked about on this channel. We teach people body dowsing. That's the whole tuning fork realization for you. And that becomes more and more self-evident. So, what's an example of magic? You're instantly able to feel into a room. You do this all the time. You walk in and you go, ooh, I need to get out of here. I don't like the way that person looks. I don't like the way that I'm feeling right now. There is something making me feel very puckered up right now that would make me want to about face and leave. You're getting evidence. This is what we call an example of ideomotor, which is, this is a tuning fork. Divination exists through this tuning fork to express it to your knowing. So contracting and expanding is really the deciphering of your reality. Now, the mastery is to be able to tune that at will. The mastery is not to be distracted by the energetic potential of emotions as a human, which will completely put you in the wrong direction. It's like, have you ever said, oh my goodness, I can never pick the right guy. Oh my goodness, I can never get the right job. Oh my goodness, everything happens to me in threes and they're all bad. This is you laying your framework out. This is you creating your reality. Yet you're like this unrealized master that is using it in what you perceive as a negative way. You're creating it. Comes back to that mirroring effect.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really powerful. I mean, the phrase, you hurt my feelings, is so evident of that, because it's, you know, everything is a feeling. That's kind of your first step, your first knowing. You're having it constantly all the time, whether you're consciously recognizing it or not. And from what you said, and the takeaway is that that is the starting point. And then you expand on it by asking yourself, okay, now I'm realizing everything is a feeling. Everything is this tuning fork. Am I contracting in this situation? Am I expanding in this situation? Does this person make me contract? Does this person make me expand? And then learning to go to move with that and start the mastery process, which, you know, everyone experiences on a daily basis. It's how aware we are and how aware you are, and refining that awareness. That's not a word. Awareness of you know, feeling these anything and everything. That in essence is modern magic.
Well, yeah, it's the starting point. But now it's being able to attune yourself, which presents what most people consider a mountain too high to climb, which is an absolute fallacy. It's a straight up lie. Anyone that tells you that it's unobtainable, liar, liar, pants on fire. So that brings us to that mastery. As everything is energy, as you identify that as this material that you are operating in, as you realize that so exciting is this word consciousness, spiritual consciousness, that you realize that, that your mind is the beginning and end of all things. The true revealing and the entry to the knowing comes from the imagination, right? So now you have to tune yourself to the energetic potential. That's why Taoist alchemy is so powerful. There is nothing that can remotely hold a candle to the mastery of the energetic potential. And you experience it. Whenever we have a conversation, whenever I have a guest on the podcast, you experience this knowing.
The feeling. I was going to say, do you think it's easier now, currently, to access this understanding, this feeling, this knowing of who we are, what we have the ability to do, what we have access to, versus, the ritual, the ancient, the lineage of thousands of years ago, when it seems like they had a better grip on the understanding of who we are?
Well, through human history, it was quite evident in the last 1,000 years that around the 1600s, they abandoned magic as being a foundation of reality, because the material world was so much easier to explain. That the mind, the ability that the mind, which is truly the access point to commandeer this reality, is not psychological. It's all-knowing. It's not separate. It doesn't reside in here. It's everything. It's becoming the maestro of the primordial mother, becoming the maestro of the now moment, where there is no separation, where your thoughts create your reality. As we speak on it over and over again, be the master keeper creator of your reality, that you are now in tune with the energetic potential, that if you think it, it will be realized. I am is nonsensical. Jifu, what are you saying? This is like the very... I am is like the foundation of most spiritual teachers that talk about everything today as the I am. Spiritual propaganda. And so, Jifu, seafood. What are you talking about? That sounds like you have an opinion. This is not how priests are supposed to operate. I can commandeer this now moment and access. I am operating on, as you would say as a physicist, all dimensions at once. That's what Nigong does, baby. And so I can entertain myself with my personality and completely maintain the resonance of divinity, the now moment, the primordial mother. I am separates you. Now, you're not asking yourself, I am. the now moment. You just think it, and it is realized. You're not going, oh, I want this to be materialized. I need this to be healed. I need to think about calling in my angels, calling in my guardians, calling in the energy. The now moment is that. So your commandeering and your identifying, your knowing of that energetic potential is the now. And so you don't have to contemplate it in a sense of you're having a thought to shift this material, this reality. As you think it, it will be realized. As you think it, it is now. Do you think the identification that people have of God, Tao, Buddha, universe, that they're asking something of a higher power to create this reality?
I think so many people kind of do this fake it till you make it viewpoint of like, if I just keep telling myself, yes,
Right.
I'm going to believe it. Yes, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And they get kind of trapped in this cycle where they want it to happen, but they don't know it to happen.
Right.
Or they have this idea and it limits the potential of having it become a reality. And the frustration or discouragement of not having that be realized. So what's the bridge from faking it unto knowing it, you
Right.
know? Because I feel like people they want it, plateau.
Right. What's the parasite? It's like, as Lao Tzu would always say, concept, consciousness, knowing, unconscious knowing, and then being. The parasite is belief system. Well, isn't that what you're teaching me, Jifu? Hell no. It's now. Yet there is a foundational processes. You're confusing me. You're telling me there's nothing, and then there's something, and then let's all start with Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. Let's start with the first fundamental understanding. You identify with the body. The body has a reflection in it which starts you on that path. For a seeker, that realization would be not a mirror that you possess in your bathroom, but you walk to a lake, the ocean, the entry of that primordial yin energy, which is water. That element is the return. That element is the evidence of the knowing. And you look at your reflection and watch it morph, because it will give you the nourishment that makes you whole. Your return to the mother through this self-evidence is the beginning. Now, you as a seeker have a body. The body is, in your opinion, real. The body shows you evidence that I'm attached to this body. If I take a hammer and bang my hand, it's going to hurt. Now, the perplexity of that is you have an autonomous processes that is going on that creates what they call the maestroing of your parasympathetic and sympathetic central nervous system. These are all terms used within neurology. The neuroplasticity of that physical body is happening separate of your conscious awareness. Oh, Jifu, I'm getting mentally mind screwed. This is the starting point. Now then you get into conscious and unconscious, right? Then you realize, oh my goodness, I've heard these terms before. People are talking in these sort of facts. They're facts to an extent. Neurology is an expression, a theorized understanding of this physical flesh. And of course we bleed off into epigenetics, which in of itself, through today's understanding, you commandeer that with your attention intention. But we return to the body. The body, once identified as an anchor, can then reveal the power of the present moment, which is the now. And you can identify through that your imagination. So this comes to what they call the mind-body spirit framework. And when you are able to start to put these building blocks together, you end up in this magical mystery ride that the body is just the beginning of your awareness. And all of a sudden, you have these mystical experiences that were commandeered by your mind, yet you can't repeat them. Mm-hmm. Because it's what we call a resonance. And there is a very fundamental cultivational practices that keeps you and maintains you at that resonance so that you can repeat it. It's self-realized. It's repeatable. The experiential now is that moment.
The now moment.
Experiential. I get double twisted. That moment will reveal itself, coming back to the body. And so how do you dissolve the mind-body? How do you dissolve that? That's the practices. And you identify that this electromagnetism, which is the polarizing effects of all things, that you are drawn to or repelled from everything. This is the dualism that we speak of. And people enter that through, what do they enter it through? Concept, consciousness, knowing, unconscious, and then being. That still sounds nonsensical, Jifu. Mm. So you enter it through a belief system. The mastery is moving past the belief system to the knowing. And so then we come back to the polarizing. If you're thinking, you're not knowing. If you're knowing, you are feeling.
Right.
Well, that's simple. I understand that. Then that's all you need to know.
Mm-hmm. I think it's like I'm just having epiphanies going off everywhere. I think when people have that glimpse, we always call it the glimpse, this thing, they are in that present moment. That's their glimpse. And because they've had it once, all of a sudden, now they're thinking about it. It's like when you wake up and everyone's had an event where they've had like uncontrollable laughter. Giggling, belly aching laughter, your face hurts, your cheeks hurt. And I would say 100% of the time, it just happens. someone could laugh because they're watching cat videos on the internet. Someone else could laugh, they're with their best friend, and some weird thing just happened and it was the funniest thing ever. Now replicating that, now you're thinking about it and going, okay, I'm going to wake up today and I want to have an uncontrollable laughter moment again. And it never happens. And then the next day, and it never happens. The next day, it never happens. Because now you're thinking about it. Now it's up here. You're not feeling it. You're not, even though you could have had it 20 or 30 or 40 different times throughout the day, just experiencing your life and experiencing that now moment, you've pre-planned it in your head going, is it now? Is it going to happen? Wait, was I supposed to think that was really funny? Was I supposed to, do something different? And it's, you've separated it. It no longer is just now. It's your idea of, which I would say for 99% of people creates limitations, because there's an expectation behind my idea of, there's a belief system behind my idea of, and then because it doesn't happen, that also keeps replaying and replaying. And now I was thinking about it a little bit. Now I'm overthinking about it. Now I'm obsessing about it. Now I'm completely separated from the experience, which is what I wanted all along, which happened by just being in the now moment.
And the simplicity of it makes it complex.
Very much.
Which is really what we talk about within the Tao. The way to walk is not the way. Mm-hmm. The name that is named is not the name. Tao is both named and nameless. Woo! Mm-hmm. And so the evidence is there in those very words that chill you got the now moment. Now, what the observer, experiencer is having right now is this palpable substance is present that no matter what I say, it has a reverberation. It has a feeling through your physicality that will help you decipher the very now moment. And that's why the energetic potential and you identifying with that is so very rewarding and nurturing for a seeker, because your self-evidence, your self-mastery resides within this polarizing now moment. And so it's like holding the line. If you're a singer, it's holding a note. If you're an athlete, it's in achieving a goal. If you're a creator, which we all are, which would be more evident in something as simplistic as an actor achieving a goal of an award, or moreover a method acting moment that is realized. Everything is realized through the yin and yang within this material. There is no exception. So I'm talking about creativity. You could be someone as simplistic as a contractor, someone that works more with their physical body and not their intellect, and it will present itself. Because there's this thing that a psychologist would refer to, which is really their definition of yin and yang. Mm-hmm. What is it? How are these psychologists attempting to bastardize or decipher yin and yang in psychology? Everything will return. There is a start and a finish, which you believe is the end when it's actually the beginning. So no matter what you may identify with this, in every single breath, it is evident to you. Jifu, I just had an epiphany. You're welcome. Well, what's an example of that, Jifu? Get up and sit down. Eyes opened, eyes closed. Breathe in, breathe out. Walk to your door, open it, and attempt to fight the desire to close the door. Mm-hmm. This is the evidence of this polarizing substance, this polarizing material that you are in right now. Oh, Jifu, my mind just blew.
And it's in everything. I mean, everything. When you break it down like that and you show the evidence of it, there's a rippling effect of, I always like to consider it like low tide, high tide all the time. This movement, this vibrating bellows. Everything is the bellows, this wave like. And I think it's so amazing when the seeker starts to see it in everything, begins to allow themselves to open up to see it within everything.
Everything. Mm-hmm. There is no exception. Mm-mm. Within that, you go from dualism to non-dualism, non-centric.
Right.
That there is, the center point is everything. It's being. That is the maestro experience, where what transmutes is from this control center, that you are now consciously, 100% consciously commandeering the mother. You're not distorting it. The mother that's cut from perfection, the sheet of perfection is the fabric of this reality. From a physics perspective, the 0 point, the unified field, the entanglement of quantum, that there is no separation. We call it the Wu Ji. Mm-hmm. And what's evidence of the Wu Ji is the Wu Wei.
Right.
Which is what Bruce Lee coined, really from his teacher, who got it from my teacher, which is called the flow, baby. Everyone calls it flow, fluidity. The effortless action, the effortless effort is a Wu Wei. As my dear friend E would say from Wai Dharma, being done by the Tao. Mm-hmm. And there is no mistaking that. This is what you, within New Age manifestos would call manifestation.
Right.
And it still comes back to that seed of that somatic, visceral, kinesthetic, expansive realization that cannot be deniable because you're experiencing it. It's happening to you and you alone. Your truth is the only truth you need to be concerned with. Yeah, baby.
Do you think that's the difference? The Wu Wei, the flow, staying within that's the ultimate between the seeker and the knower.
Well, of course, and it's self-evident. Mm-hmm. If I said to you right now, think anything, that you desire, which is a resonance, and it will be realized. I don't know what you just said, Jeff, but I am feeling it. Yeah, baby. And so you're oscillating this resonance, and the true nature of all things, the now moment, is how you access that flow. And so we return to, is the glass half empty or half full? Oh my goodness, that's yin and yang. Yeah, baby. Your need to walk to the door, and if I put my hand out, your need to reach out and shake my hand is evidence of this polarizing material.
Right.
And so you as a seeker, your self-evident realization is your ability to access Wu Ji. So there is no separation between the yin and the yang as you are contracting and expanding at the same time. See, the distraction is the seeker's inability to master the emotional content which comes from this straight off the production line physical body. It transmutes into the distortion, as my friend, the Buddhist priest Martin would say, the dukkha. And then we resort back to light to wave to matter to particle, realize with your attention intention, really being the maestro. But no one's ever given you, hey, heads up. The now moment is, if you think it, it's realized. Hell no, that just sounds like fantasy. That's another lie. But you must return from the skepticism and the cynical, introspective, analytical construct of the human condition, which is based in fear.
And separation.
Which is, what is fear? The opposing force to fearless. Oh, Jaffu, my head's exploding. You're welcome. And really, the center point of between fear and fearless is the knowing. And so what would be more powerful than bringing you to what we talk about, which is the ritual, baby? I give you a task at hand right now. There are going to be ingredients necessary. First, you will acquire candles. 2 is a Taoist path, which identifies this very reality that we are operating in. Then you will acquire an incense burner that can resort back down to the simplicity of a bowl. Then you will acquire a rice. Then you will acquire paper, a rice paper.
Rice paper.
Rice paper. And from that, you will acquire fire. You will use the element of fire to have the rice paper return from the ashes, the instant verification of the magic. Because as soon as you create the altar with the 2 candles, the bowl, the rice, the paper, you're to lay the paper down on top of the rice within the bowl. You're to take the flame, and in this order, I repeat, in this order, light candle 1, light candle 2, light rice paper in bowl. And as it dissolves from the flame into the ash, it returns you to the very power of ritual that is deep inside you. And from that very moment, you will take prayer. This is the very start of your magical journey, my dear friend, my seeker to a knower. That palpable, tangible energy that you're experiencing in your physicality is your self-realization of the knowing that you are right where you need to be. And the prayer will be simplistic. You will take this prayer that is a foundation. The words are the foundation. The words are the vehicle for the substance, the juice, the flow that is coming out of my very breath right now, which is the harnessing of that chi, that primordial mother. Oh yeah, baby. You will speak it as I stand here before you with unconditional love and acceptance for all things. I give to you the mind, the body, the spirit, and have it return, bringing me complete to this very moment, from the breath in and the breath out. You will breathe in. You will hold. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. That harnessing of that chi is the beginning of your magical journey, my child. That's right. I feel like I'm being commandeered by Lao Tzu at this point. Is where you're getting the very insight and that palpable experience that you're having is him speaking through me. As you already know this. And this is the starting point of your magical mystery ride. This is the very foundation of the magic. As your return to the knowing first starts with remembering. And that lies within the breath and the bellows that you are contracting and expanding at the same time. The center point is the prayer. That is the foundational seed that will create the fabric of the magic that comes from you commandeering and maestroing the divinity that is the mother, that is evident in this polarizing from duality to non-duality. From the void to the light. From that darkness creates the seed within the womb of the primordial mother. That is the creation of all things. That brings us back to our very much realized dialogue that leads to the monologue of now. Think it and it is realized. Know that everything that you have experienced today has set you forth on your journey of realized magic, of mastery of the body, mind, spirit. There is no separation. There is only now. And it starts with that seed. Perfection manifest. You will realize self-mastery. You will realize the magic walking away from this experience. It's experiential. It is visceral. It is kinesthetic. It is somatic. It is now. And through the transmission that you received earlier, you will have more self-evidence as you cannot step away from the symbolism of that decoder, that universal decipherer that we use within Taoist magic, within Taoism, the yin and yang. You will see it in everything. And you'll come back to this podcast and go, holy moly, I have been realized. And from that experiential now, from this feeling that you are having, that creates the knowing. I leave you, my dear friends, with thanking my compadre, my one and only, Jade, for her very knowing and her dissolving and returning to the communion that we create as the mother, from the yin to the yang. This self-evidence is in all things. And being is now. And I want to thank you as your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master San Qing. And we will see you very soon, my dear friends.